Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and welcome to our guests. Firstly, why was the work event in an open plan area? I presume this had a significance. Number two, it has been asked, but would you restate, Secretary General, that really all the social distancing issues were around a few minutes at a photograph? Is that what you're suggesting? Number three, because the Minister is sometimes wrongly implicated here, could you explain, or the Minister explain to the meeting, the control structures in the department, the HR structures, the supervision structures, and where does the Minister's responsibility begin and end for internal staffing matters? On the level of the contribution and the mistake, are there any further steps? Because there's reasonable public anger, there's been admission of an error. Is there anything further that the Secretary General or the Minister think could be done to make the people confident that this has been taken seriously? And the final question, could I ask, beyond this mistake, could I ask the Secretary General for an update on the major areas that we've been focusing on during our term of the Security Council, as there's less than a year left? So I suppose it's a relevant question in the context of a celebration, what we've been doing since. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So back to the Secretary General and Minister. Starting with the Secretary General on the question of the office layout and the social distancing, and then moving on to the other questions as raised by Senator O'Reilly. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. The open plan office is the area where most of the UN policy team would normally have been based, but it was also clearly used because it's a large space, that it would have had a space for potentially in non-COVID times of 152 office spaces. So it was large, and there were 6 offices along the side. So it was deliberately decided that that was where people should concentrate because of the space it provided specifically to comply with social distancing. As the review makes clear, the social distance breach, the serious one we referred to, was the 1 minute around the photograph, but the review also points out that after the photograph was taken and as people dispersed, couldn't rule out the possibility that there were minor breaches within the 2 metres as people moved around, given the nature of the events that they were doing. In terms of I think major policy areas that the department are focused on in the UN context.
HR control. Because there's an allegation out there, Chair, that the Minister should have disciplined the personnel. So would you explain the Minister's authority there?
The behaviour of staff, the internal discipline of staff, the way the department is administered and organised under the Public Service Management Act is a matter for the Secretary General of the time and not for the Minister. And so that's why in the review it was focused on the behaviour of staff of the department, and that's why I led it and led on the terms of reference.
Can I just say, in relation to Deputy O'Reilly's comments, that while it is, of course, the responsibility of the Secretary General to deal with staffing issues and so on, I don't want to suggest that I don't have some responsibility here. I do. This is a political issue as well as a momentary failing, if you like, in terms of the breach of guidelines. And that is why I felt it was important to have this report and to bring it to the committee. And it's also, I think, important to recognise that it certainly would have been helpful if I had raised it directly with the Secretary General at the time. And I didn't, and I allowed the agenda to move on. And that's what happened. There was no issue. Nobody was raising it either inside or outside the department, to be honest, after that evening. I think it would have been helpful if I had addressed it directly with the Secretary General at the time, but I didn't. But certainly when this became of public concern, we responded by trying to produce a comprehensive and truthful account of what happened.